Okay, so I wanted to talk about what helped me specifically in the 4 or 5 months. What has helped me, my meditation basically, and what helped me, I think, led to the realization of my true nature, and that is the practice of presence. I tried a lot of different meditations, and there's so many. You can go through the Buddhist school, Zen school. There's so many meditations around it. I think it's good to try a bunch and see what just sort of feels natural. And that happened for me. Slowly, I realized, just being present just felt very natural, and it felt very easy, and I didn't have to think about anything or do anything. It was just very natural. So I'd like to go into that a little bit and just describe exactly what I was doing, just to clarify for anybody who's interested. So practice of presence for me is, and I still do it, by the way, throughout the day. That's basically kind of what I'm doing. So what it is bringing one's attention to the present moment. And that's the simplest description of it. Bring the attention to the present moment. And so if we're, how do I describe this? What's the opposite of being present? So the opposite of being present is being sort of lost in and identified with our thoughts, whatever they could be. Positive thoughts about something in the future, or negative thoughts about the future, or positive or negative thoughts about the past, some grievance we have about something that happened in the past, or any kind of thing like that. It's our attention goes there, and we're not actually present. And when we're not present, we're basically in mind. Our whole energy and attention goes into mind, and what the mind is doing. The mind is thinking this thought. It has this commentary. It's got some problems about what's going to happen or what did happen. It's all mind. But that's what I would call it. So when you're present, you're bringing your attention really out of mind. But I'm just kind of trying to give a all-inclusive description here, just in case I sort of cover all the bases, I hope. But it's the lovely part about being present is you don't even have to worry about mind. You don't have to think about mind. What's my mind doing? You don't have to even think about it or worry about it. All you're doing is bringing your energy, your attention, to the present moment. What just here. And so, and another quality of that is, I'm just watching a hummingbird just now. What it does is you drop into perception. That's what being in the present moment is you drop into perception only, and you come out of the commentary about your perception. So I'm looking at my friend Nirvan, I'm watching a bird, I may hear some sounds, and that's all. And I'm not going off on a story about any of those things.
What happens if a story comes in? What do you do then?
Yeah, great question. So stories probably will come in, and the stories come in for me also. So great question. So a couple things. There's two ways I see that can happen. One is you don't notice that the story comes in. You just realize 10 minutes later or an hour later or a day later that a story came in. You go, oh wow, I was lost in story there for a small piece of time or a big piece of time. And that's fine, and that's natural, because we're so unaccustomed to being present. it's almost foreign. Although children, young children, that's all they are. They're just present, and that's what's so amazing and otherworldly about young children is they're just present. So if it happens, that's fine and completely natural. And go, oh wow! So the good news is, wow! I noticed it. I noticed myself going off into story somewhere and mind somewhere. Great, excellent. That's really good. That's really good news. So then just come back without any sort of self-reprimanding. Because if you go into I'm a bad meditator, or I'm not very spiritual, I get lost in my story. Well, now you're into a secondary story about the first story, right? So just be gentle with yourself and go, oh, perfect. This is very natural. And just come back to present. And the other kind of slip is where it's very momentary, is basically the same thing. You catch it very quickly, and the more you do this, the easier you'll notice when your mind turns on and starts feeding you stories about things and going off thinking about things. It can be thoughts or emotions, either one. So same thing. It's just be very gentle with yourself, and just come back to the present moment. I'd like to say one more thing. Is the mind feeds on excitement. Or that's one of the things it feeds on. And it can be negative excitement. It can be like disaster. It could be terrible things happening, or really great things happening, but it's all like very exciting. That's why we watch movies that are full of violence or fear or something. It's exciting. It excites us. We're like, riveted. Wow, I feel alive. Well, when you're when you let yourself just rest in the present moment for a period of time, just start off 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and if you have time, you have a chunk in your life where you go, there's nothing really going to call on me for this weekend maybe, or a day. See if you can spend a whole day in presence, as much as you can. And because presence opens. It's not a single layer. There's layers and layers and levels to presence, and it opens something. And it's really a doorway to the divine. And but I wanted to say is, being present can feel boring to the mind, and you will most people will feel some sort of boredom because it's not exciting. These stories, these negative stories, positive stories, hopes, fears, our minds are sort of addicted to that sort of stimulation. And if you're just present and you're looking at nature, or you're having a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and just being present in your room, it doesn't have that kind of hyper stimulation that our minds like, and it can feel boring. But don't be tricked by that. That's the mind that's bored.
Well, can you be present with boring?
Well, great, perfect. You can be, exactly, great point. You can be present with anything. You can be present with any of the emotions, the whole spectrum of emotions, and including boring.
Can you be present with thinking?
You can be present with thinking. Although, like I'm present now and I'm speaking with you, so there's some thoughts that are being generated. I would recommend exploring presence without trying to think too much at first. Not that you can't, because you can, but it's we're so unaccustomed to just being present that thinking can cloud over your perception. It's very easy to get lost in thinking, and you can fool yourself that, oh, I'm being present, but you're actually not. One more thing I like to say is, present is not, some people feel like, how do I say this? It can feel like if you look in the past throughout your day, like, oh, I spent the day, oh, I went here, I talked to that person. You can almost trick yourself into feeling like, well, I remember all these events, so I was present. But that's not presence. Presence is immediate, and it's this moment. It's only this moment. And that moment just continues into the next moment, into the next moment, into the next moment. But it's always here and now. Mm. So it's not something retroactive.
I'm going to add a little here.
Please,
to that. I feel like this is that.
Please.
That, and I think I understand that you're saying basically that it's a little easier to be present when you're seeing something or hearing something, one of the senses, and
yes.
It comes in and then it goes out, and then you get something. And it's more difficult to be present just with your thoughts, or even with your emotions, because you tend to get attached to them.
Yes.
You tend to go with them, and they take you away. But it can also happen with things outside, though.
Totally.
Sometimes you get you're looking at the plant, and you're seeing the hummingbird, and you say, "Oh, but I wonder that hummingbird."
Yeah, and off you go.
And off you go. So I think that's what you're trying to bring out is that it's actually a bit easier to use that the senses in what's happening in moment to moment to moment.
Yeah.
But you can do it with
yes.
kind of watching even your mind, like the clouds in the sky just floating by.
Yeah.
And that's possible. Definitely more difficult though, unless you get that knack.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that
absolutely? And it's my sense, just having talked to we know many people who are meditators and on a spiritual path, and it's my sense that. Each person will find their own meditation style. And then basically it's like paths going up a mountain. It's just a metaphor. There's no mountain. But as far as a metaphor, it's paths going up a mountain. Well, they all get to the same place, the peak of the mountain. So, yeah. I personally found, I tried this meditation of watching my thoughts. I thought I was going to go insane. It was not good for me. It made me feel crazy. I was like this, sort of like I couldn't relax. But I'm positive there are some people that would find it very easy. It's like, oh, because you read about it all the time. Just like you said, watch them as clouds going by, or the leaves on a river, or something like that.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So if that works for you, excellent.
Yeah.
But there should be a feeling of relaxation.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm glad you said that. That relaxation is a key.
Totally. Yeah, if that's not there, if there's tension there, I need to relax.
There was a couple of things that came to my mind when you were talking. When I first started doing Zen meditation, okay, the way they taught it to us was to watch your breath, but the way you watched your breath, it was you counted 1 when you took an in breath, and 2 as an out breath, and 3, 4, all the way to 10, and then you went back to 1. And what many people noticed was that sometimes you would end up at 37, 53, or whatever, because you're not. You went off somewhere. One of your thoughts generally, or maybe a feeling or something, was taking you off somewhere. Yeah. And you just kept you just kept continuing to count. You literally forgot that you were doing this. Yeah. and that's what you kind of said that can happen when you're, you know, you're thinking of looking this and then just bring it back. And that was the technique that they used a lot. Well, then if you lose yourself, well, then just come back and do it again. And start again. So, you know, 1, 2, no need to get hard on yourself in any way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Just bring that awareness back.
Yeah.
That came to mind. I literally forgot that.
No, it's a lovely technique. It really lets you know when you very quickly that
very quickly.
Yeah.
You could easily be gone.
Yeah.
No question. It's a beautiful technique. So you used that pretty exclusively then?
I did. I really settled on that when I was with Papaji. He talked not solely, but often he would talk about just stopping all effort. It's a call off the search. And it does the same thing. It brings you out of mind. And you stop any effort. Anyways, sorry, I'm rambling. And I realized somewhere along the line with Papaji that it's the same thing as being present. I could see, oh, these are the same paths. They're almost identical paths. And it just felt, I don't know what, just intuitively, just felt like home to me. Very relaxing, very easy for me. And yeah, that's really what I did.
So he probably was kind of a magnet for you to be present when you were just listening to him. It probably wasn't as difficult, or maybe it was. I don't know. Was it more easy in the sense to when you're in front of him and listening to what he had to say, to be present, than say, you know, just walking around the streets or being in your house? Or I mean, was that a technique? Was that?
I wouldn't say so.
Oh, okay.
He certainly had a sort of a magnetic energy around him. You know, lots of these teachers do. But he never gave like discourses or anything like Osho did.
Oh, I see.
Not at all. Never.
Oh, I see.
He would talk for 4 minutes.
Uh-huh.
Just introduce something. 5 minutes. And then there's questions and answers.
Yeah.
And people come up and sit next to him. He would talk with them. So I wouldn't mind.
I was going to say that I found that with Osho.
Yes.
That was very.
Right.
He was so captivating. It was actually very easy not to get distracted from one thing to another, and it had a certain flow to it, so that you didn't.
Yeah.
Although, you know, of course, you get caught up in things, but.
Yeah. It's almost like a gravity. You get pulled into his gravitational field in a way. And
it was easy. So some things, I'm just saying that because I just thought of that, is that some things around you could be a little bit easier to be
absolutely
present with, right?
Yes, like nature.
Yeah.
For most people, nature is like that.
Maybe you should be on high alert then, because then you can just get in there.